In this lesson for Monument, we're going to look at the first synth. Now I'm going to say straight off the bat that actually I feel really sorry for the students this year, because this synth part and the other synth part have taken me the best part of 2 weeks to kind of get to grips with. And there just seems to be so much going on, so much layering, so much complexity within the synths. And even now, after spending all that time on this particular synth, I still don't feel that I'm anywhere near where I want to be with it. But I wanted to give you guys something to start with and see if you can improve on it and just go from there. Now the first thing I'm going to say to you guys is looking at the score. Here's the synth on this line here. It's written in the bass clef, but what you can hear straight away is it seems to be layered. So you've got one that's really high up and one that's kind of lowered down. There's also this kind of phaser effect on it. So like I say, these are deeply layered synths. And there's lots and lots going on. So this is where it starts in the score, bar 54. Now, to my ears, this actually doesn't start at bar 54. I've got this starting at bar 50. I believe the first time it comes in is bar 50. I haven't written these notes in yet because I'm not 100% sure, but for my ears, I'm hearing it coming in at around bar 50 with this nice swooshy kind of phaser effect. So if I just play it from bar 50 and then I'll play you what I've got, or maybe I'll play you what I've got first and then we'll listen to bar 50 and see if you agree. So straight away, here's my first two layers, okay? So here we go, here's what I've got so far. So the actual notation is fairly simple. Now here, have a listen to the actual track and see what you guys reckon. Now, for my ears, I can just hear this phaser effect right buried deep in the background. So I'm thinking we're going to need those extra notes. Not to worry, we'll come to that. Now, one of the benefits of this is it only happens towards the end. And that's because what they're doing towards the end in this last chorus is just really building the impact of this whole piece. So here's what I've got. Let's have a look at the focus part. Now this is what's written in the score. So these are the notes that we've got so far in the score. And I'll share my screenshots once again just so you can kind of just type these in. I've started off with this ES2 synth with an electric buzz. Now this is fairly standard, so we've just looked at this. We're using two oscillators, both with a bit of frequency modulation on. Now that's just pulled over in this direction from the square wave synth in both ways, okay? Now we've had to adjust the cutoff, adjust the resonance, and we've also blended the two filters just to kind of pan around with it. So we are playing around with it ever so slightly. And once again, you're always going to have to play around with the ADSR just to kind of get the sound that you want. I'll share this screenshot. So there's the first one. The second one I'm using is still the ES2. And it's still the electric buzz. Now this is where it differs ever so slightly, is I've changed the phaser and I've changed the octave. So if I click on this one, you'll notice that my first note is F4, and if I click on this one, you'll notice that my first note is actually F1. So there's the first change, is up a few octaves. My second change is in the phaser. Now the phaser is been very subtly kind of done, so we get this whirry phaser kind of metallic-y sound that we kind of like. Once again, the panning off over to the left hand side, and it's fairly low in the mix. If we look at both of these, they're kind of adjusted differently. I've put the higher one, because it pierces through the mix, I put the higher one ever so slightly lower, and the lower in pitch ever so slightly higher. And I'll just show you the phaser sound that we've got there, so you can see that the actual phaser is slightly different. Now I've got a little bit of automation on this as well, just because I wanted to kind of change the way the volume was working. So I've just kind of started it quite loud and then ever so slightly faded it out on that big long note. I've also shortened this second, the higher one, and faded it out sooner. Now that's pretty much all I have to say about this first synth. I suspect that I am going to have to come back. I am going to have to work on this a little bit further. So when we get to the mixing stage, I'll probably just show you a few changes there as well. But I would definitely say to you, just think about the layers. see what kind of presets you've got and think about the layers and layering it all up ever so slightly, and see if you think that you need to add a few extra notes just there. Before I leave this then, I'll play theirs and then I'll play mine, and you can make your own opinions. Okay, now let's just play my one. It's still playing in the background. So I'm fairly happy with that. Like I said, I think there's still some work to be done, but I think you guys are going to struggle with this one, I've got to be honest. So just take your time, experiment with layers, and once you feel you've got enough, kind of just move on like I'm going to do now, and I'm going to come back to it once I've put some more layers in.